I'm Kelly Wilson, registered dietitian with Trinity Health Ann Arbor Lifestyle Medicine. If you've been here before, you know me. This is part 8 of our monthly cooking series, Cooking with Plants. Tonight we're talking about ways to use unique veggies, and we've got my friend Will here from the farm. Do you want to introduce yourself or say anything about you?
I'm the farmer here at the farm at Trinity Health Ann Arbor, so I'm very passionate about vegetables, and we love to get vegetables on people's plates as well.
Yeah, and Will provided a lot of the produce that we're going to be using in tonight's class. So he'll be talking about that and adding in some other tips as we go through our recipes. We are going to do 4 recipes today. We've got some beet recipes. We're going to do a beet and ginger slaw. We're going to do a steamed eggplant dish inspired by some comments from Will himself.
Oh, did we lose him again? I don't think it's us.
Oh, I think Lisa's muting us, maybe.
Oh.
No?
No? I'm sorry, guys. I don't know what's going on and why we're getting muted inadvertently. Okay. So I don't know where we got muted. Apologies for that. But the most important thing is that you know that we're going to make 4 recipes and we're going to focus on 4 different plant foods. And if you have your mic unmuted, if you could mute yourself, that would be great. We're going to do a beet and carrot slaw. We are going to talk about roasted beets. We're going to do some zucchini fritters. We're going to do some steamed saucy eggplant inspired by Will. And we're going to do, what's our last one? Oh, tomatillos. We're going to learn all about tomatillos, and we're going to make a tomatillo salsa. So that's where we're going. Let's get started with our beet and ginger slaw. And if we get inadvertently muted again, raise a hand because I can see those and we will adjust accordingly. Okay, so wanted to show you first these big, beautiful beets. Will, y'all are growing lots of beets at the farm, right?
We grow beets. I can't take credit for that beet.
Okay.
That is a beautiful beet.
This is a big, beautiful beet. We like to use both the greens, so you can use these. I have some thoughts. How would you use these?
I told people they're a lot like Swiss chard, so you could use them as wraps. You could use them as salads. You could saute them up. They're really versatile, the greens, and even the stems too. I recommend eating.
Oh yeah, I recommend eating them too. The greens are a really high source of iron. They're actually higher in iron than spinach. And we did a recipe last week for Swiss chard, or last month, excuse me, for Swiss chard. So you can go back into our website and the recipes there, and you could substitute this in, just like Will said, for Swiss chard in that recipe. The root is what we're going to be using today. So if you get a bunch of beets like this, make sure you keep the whole thing because you can use the whole thing. Beets are also a really, really good source of nitrates, which helps, oxygen flow throughout your body, with your circulation, improves muscle stamina. A lot of athletes are using like shots of beet juice now, and that's for the nitrates in there. There are also some phytonutrients in beets that are really potent antioxidants or anti-inflammatory compounds. So this slaw that we're making is a really potent antioxidant dish. So we're going to start with, I'm going to show you real quick. This recipe calls for 2 red beets that have been grated. We did not peel them before we grated them. If you're somebody that you're like, I don't know about beets kind of taste a little bit like dirt, you can peel them, and you can use a paring knife, and I would just trim. So obviously we trimmed off the leaves. You can trim that little taproot off and peel around like so, or you could use a vegetable peeler and get that skin off. That's where a lot of the bitterness is, and then you could just grate the inside. Like I've said in previous classes, like to take shortcuts, and so I don't peel. Are you a peeler or
I
not
don't
a
know,
peeler?
not in the season. No, I
Yeah.
don't have time for that.
Yeah,
No.
I know. Me neither. Me neither. So we've got, let's see here. Beautiful. We've got two big beets that haven't shredded.
Shredded on the big side on a box grater. The small side, we kind of just turn them to mush, I think. So
Yeah.
the big one is what we want.
Yep, exactly. That's perfect. And then we've got two medium carrots that were grated on that same coarse side of the grater. Okay, beautiful, beautiful. And then we are going to take, we've got some olive oil. We've got about 3 tablespoons of olive oil.
I like cooking like this when it's all done already.
Yeah,
This is
yeah. So if you notice for our classes, we've got everything kind of prepped out. That's a term called mise en place. It just means everything in its place in French, and I'm probably not pronouncing it correctly, but it does make cooking go a lot faster when you've got all the ingredients prepped and measured out for yourself. We've got 1.5 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. And then we've got, I think, 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Okay. We've got 1/4 cup of sunflower seeds. So you're getting some extra zinc and some protein there.
we use like other things too, maybe like chopped walnuts or
Of course.
nuts, whatever around.
Yeah, that's a great call. Recipes are always suggestions. So whatever, if you don't have sunflower seeds, walnuts, pumpkin seeds, whatever you got, totally would work. We've got 4 scallions or green onions all chopped up. Right.
And what part of the scallion do you use?
The green part and the white
White
part,
part,
both. Yeah.
yeah.
Do you use one or the other?
I use the
Mhm.
greens, and then
Mhm.
I'll take the white part and I'll stick them in a jar and water on the counter, and the greens will regrow. Because I think
Oh,
that's
yeah.
mostly what we like is the white part, or the green
Totally.
part, and not the white part.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Most people go for that.
Yeah.
But that's a great tip. Like
And it's
extending your food.
super fun too. Kids love that too.
Oh yeah. The very last ingredient is ginger. So we're going for about 1 tablespoon of ginger. So about a 1-inch piece. I'm going to peel the brown parts off this ginger with my paring knife. Again, you could use a vegetable peeler if you wanted to. You can also use a spoon, like a regular eating spoon, to peel the brown part off. You don't have to be completely perfect. We just want to get most of it off because it's a little bit bitter, and
Kelly, I'll be honest, I don't even peel my ginger.
you don't even peel your ginger.
I'll hack off kind of, where it dries out and it gets a little
Yeah.
tough. I'll take that
right
off.
there.
But the
Mhm.
skin is so thin, and once I shred it, I find that I never notice it, especially because ginger is just such a small volume of the dish.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I like to be economical with my time. So.
Yeah. I mean, again, like I said, all for the shortcuts. And so you could also be like Will and not peel your ginger if you would like. I think I'm gonna keep peeling it.
Yeah,
That's
sure,
okay.
sure.
Yeah. But I can totally appreciate the time saving. So what I just did is I sliced this thinly into little circles, and I kind of stacked those little circles on top of each other, and I'm making tiny little matchsticks almost.
If your knife skills aren't super great and you don't feel like this is something that you want to mess with, you could also use the fine side on a box grater like this.
Heck yes, you could.
Which could remove some finger skin. So you want to
Yeah, the grater is something that you want to be very, very careful with. I have a little cut on my finger here from a couple weeks ago when I nicked myself with a grater. So I'm putting those matchstick pieces into a pile, and I'm putting the tip of my chef knife on the cutting board and just kind of making a rocking motion over that pile, and then using my knife to gather that pile back together. Again, I'm not looking for perfection here. Ginger is just a really potent flavor, especially when it's fresh. And so I'm just trying to get it into reasonably small sized pieces. They don't have to be perfectly uniform so that you don't get wham overpowered by the ginger in the dish. Okay, so we've got that ginger in there. I can stick it right here. Yeah, it smells really good. Ginger is one of my favorite. Fresh ginger is one of my favorite things. And if you're somebody that you typically use the powdered ginger, it's a completely different game with fresh ginger. I think the sweetness is heightened in the fresh ginger.
And if I were using dried ginger, I think I'd want to be careful to not use the same volume, right? As
Right.
when you use something dried, usually using about a half to even a third of the fresh volume.
Yep, totally. So there is our beet and our ginger slaw. If you are beet shy, I highly encourage you to try this dish still, because I have converted, proudly I can say, many of the beet naysayers to beet lovers with this dish. So highly recommend giving this one a try. We're going to set that aside for now. And then, oh, I do still need something off of that, if you don't mind. Yeah, a couple other things. So wanted to quickly also talk about different preparation techniques. So we just did a raw preparation, and often I think people talk about roasted beets, and we wanted to show you two different kinds of preparation techniques, because how we cook changes the nutrients that are available in our food. And so it's really important that we vary our intake of raw with cooked veggies. And when we're cooking at higher temperatures, we can form compounds called advanced glycolated end products, or AGEs, that have been linked to chronic diseases like diabetes. So a raw application more often than a high temperature cooking application, if you have one of those chronic health conditions, can be better for you. Or moist heat cooking techniques like boiling or steaming, like what we're going to do with our eggplant, be good. But if you do want to roast, which is a great way to caramelize sugars in your vegetables and make these a little even sweeter, you just make a little foil packet. I mean, that's how I do it. I make a little foil packet. I stick the beets in there, scrubbed. And then when they are cool and they come out, the skin just kind of flakes right off. Is that how you usually do it, or do you have a different way that you roast?
No, that's perfect. That looks great.
Yeah.
Sometimes I like, if I'm doing it as a side, maybe I have carrots or potatoes in there, I'll chop them all up and roast them that way.
Yeah.
But if whole roasted beets, this is excellent. The benefit to doing them when they're chopped up is you can usually roast them a little bit faster that way, because they're smaller, they cook quicker.
Yes, this took about an hour in that foil packet at 400 degrees. I didn't put anything else on it. I just, I didn't dry them after I washed them. So there was a little bit of moisture in that packet. So there's a little bit of steaming going on as well. And I'm wearing gloves because your hands will get stained when you are working with beets. If you don't care, great. But I didn't think you wanted to look at my beet stained hands the rest of class. So that's what we're doing. Great to use these in salads, toss them in a grain bowl. You can blend them into a smoothie or into your hummus, like really, really wonderful. And if you want to take a shortcut, Meyer and Fresh Time have this brand called Love Beets. Have you seen those? They're like the vacuum
cool.
sealed, like already peeled, already cooked beets. So you can get all this wonderful nutrition without having to do all of the work and getting your fingers stained.
And this would be something I think you could do ahead of time.
Totally.
Even a week ahead of time. These would keep in the fridge just like that, really nicely.
Yep, 100%. All right. So our next recipe, we are going to work on eggplant. So this is a steamed eggplant dish. Can I have that bowl too, please? And the steamer, please. Awesome, thank you. And if your microphone's on, if you wouldn't mind muting, that would be super helpful. Thank you. So we've got two beautiful, what kind of eggplants are these?
Yeah, so this is going to be your classic, we call these a black Italian variety, and this is actually an Italian variety as well, but it's just got this nice purple and white striping. So that kind of gets cooked out once you cooked it. So it just looks pretty.
So pretty. I love it.
There are other types of eggplant out there. There's things that we call Asian eggplants, which are much longer and narrower. They have a little bit different properties. So for a dish like this, you'd want to use the classic Italian variety.
Yeah. So these are just going to hold up a little bit better because they're thicker, like Will was saying, to that steaming application. The deep purple color, there's a lot of anthocyanins, which are another really powerful antioxidant, are here in the skin. So we're not going to peel these because we want to keep that nutrition in our system. So I'm just going to show you how I cut these for steaming, and then kind of show you a little bit about what we what we did here. So typically when I'm get that out of the way. When I'm cutting, I put the eggplant long ways down on the cutting board. I make my C with my non-cutting hand, and I'm gonna slice off this stem end, okay, and like throw that part away. And then I like to cut it in half lengthwise, put that cut surface down on the cutting board so it's nice and stable, and then cut a half again, and then about a ½ inch from that slice, I'm going to make another couple slices. And what I'm looking for here with my steamed application is to get about a 3-inch piece. So cut it in half. I'm going to set it back down on its cut inside. Slice again. So I'm getting pieces that are kind of about that size. That's kind of what we're going for here. That goes in
I
here.
love that because sometimes people will want to chop it so small and the eggplant
Yeah.
disappears. But I think eggplant actually has a great texture when you cook it right. And steaming it is the right way to do it for sure. So yeah, don't be shy. Let the eggplant shine.
Yes, I 100% agree. And this is what it looks like after we've steamed it. So if you can tell, it is nice and white here when it's in its raw form, and it is kind of little spongy but firm still. And after steaming for about 8 minutes, and I steamed it in batches using this steaming tool. So this is a wire basket steamer. You put in the bottom of your saucepan, you fill to just below the bottom of this, put a lid on, and let the water boil and steam. And again, for about 8 to 10 minutes until it was soft. And I did it in batches so that everything cooked evenly.
Beautiful.
Yes. So there's our eggplant. We are going to make a little sauce for it. So actually, we're going to use our carrot bowl here and make up our sauce. So let's see, we've got 1 tablespoon of coconut aminos. If you can make sure that your mic is muted, that would be very helpful. Thank you. 1 tablespoon of coconut aminos. We've got a couple teaspoons of rice wine vinegar. You might see seasoned or unseasoned. That just means sugar added or not sugar added. Unseasoned has no sugar. So this is unseasoned, no added sugar. You could use soy sauce here, but remember we're often using the coconut aminos just because it's a slightly less sodium heavy one, and it's a little bit on the sweeter side, which is kind of nice.
Is that gluten-free as well?
It is gluten
So
free.
that's nice.
Mhm.
Most soy sauce is not.
Right. If you look at for tamari is gluten free soy sauce. We've got a couple teaspoons of sesame oil.
These are all staples in my pantry. We
Yeah.
cook with these so often.
Yeah.
They just go so great with vegetables.
They really do. How else do you like to use the sesame oil?
Well, you can cook with it if you're gonna saute something with the sesame sauce. You can make some great dressings out of sesame oil. So ginger and sesame and a little bit of soy or coconut aminos all really make a great dressing.
Yeah, I agree. We've got a ½ teaspoon of red chili flakes.
It's a great ingredient.
Very crucial. We've got 1 very large clove of garlic minced. So this is probably about like 2 to 3 cloves of minced garlic from the grocery store. Smells really good. Putting that in there. We've got a couple teaspoons of minced ginger. And we are going to give that a little stir. We'll add that into our bowl here. And then we've also got some green onions that are going in there.
Beautiful.
And then we've got some sesame seeds. This is a what they call tuxedo mix because it's black and white sesame seeds. So we're throwing those in here. And bonus, sesame seeds are a really high plant-based source of calcium. So getting that added bonus and nice little crunch and texture. And like, just look at how beautiful that is.
Beautiful.
Like so many
Yeah.
colors.
And you could have this together in probably 15 minutes.
Oh.
It would be a really quick
Oh,
side
yeah.
dish or even a main.
Yep. Yeah. If you wanted to add in some sauteed tofu to this with a little bit of brown rice, there you go. You've got your whole dinner right there. So nice, really flavorful, easy eggplant side. Put that over here. Thank you. Thank you. That is gonna need to be on. There's a twisty tie that has the cord. So, yeah, perfect. Thank you. All right, our next recipe, we have got a tomatillo salsa. So Will is kindly getting our, yeah, perfect. That is great. Thank you. Our food processor together. It's about tomatillos. Like, what the heck is a tomatillo?
Yeah, they're super funky, right? So they're really closely related to things like tomatoes, peppers, eggplants. They're in that family. They're a summer crop. So they're actually coming into season right now. The ones right there are actually from the farm. And they're growing in like a short bush that gets to about 2 or 3 feet. And they have this fun little husk on there, which might be kind of hard to see. So I have my friend here, Toma, as we call him. So there's a husk that you peel back, and that obviously reveals the very cute tomatillo.
Do all tomatillos have faces?
Most don't. Most don't. I leave those on there. I let them live a full, happy tomatillo life. Yeah. So when you peel a tomatillo, you just twist that husk off, and we put that in the compost, and then we're left with the little fruit. It's a little sticky, so we often will wash these before we use them. I haven't noticed a flavor to that when I haven't done that, but you can see that you might get a little dirt under there that comes from when they harvest them. So washing them is a good idea.
Yeah. And tell us the difference too. Like, so tomatillos, when you see them, right, they like are in this little husk wrapper situation. Is there any difference between, we've got some like brown husk, you got the green husk, one that's kind of popping through the husk. Wait, is there any
really
difference?
A size difference? They're ripe when they're bursting out of the husk just a little bit. But if they're too ripe, they're going to get yellow like this. And you can actually still eat these. And in fact, some salsas are made with ripe tomatillos. So the green are unripe. They're really tart until we roast them up, which we're going to talk about. But these have a little bit more sweetness for them. So you could actually toss a couple of these to change the sauce a little bit, which I like to do. It's fun. But there's green ones. There's actually purple tomatillos as well. So they're all, if they're green, then they're going to have that classic tomatillo flavor.
Yeah, which, like you said, is really bright. It's really acidic. So the salsa that we're going to make, it's really good with kind of heavy flavors, kind of pairing. If you remember back to our flavors class, acidic foods can kind of help counteract and kind of balance out like those heavy flavors, or bitterness. Our acidic foods can also help balance out any bitter flavors as well. So the salsa, I like to use it as a salad dressing. I like to use it just mixed with like rice if I'm making like a grain bowl. When you make tomatillo salsa, any other ways that you like to use it?
Absolutely. Yeah. You put it on pretty much everything. Yeah. Roast up some vegetables and drizzle it on there. Oh, yeah. Sometimes I'll just put the tomatillos halved on top of roasted vegetables and kind of let them ooze over them as they roast. That's a really great way. But if you go down to Mexico, they're putting salsa verde on just about everything.
Yes. So. Yeah. So how do we make salsa verde? Well, we're going to tell you. So we first started with about a dozen tomatillos. So like Will said, you peel the husk part off. Okay, we don't want that papery bit. There's not a lot of flavor, weird texture. We don't want that into our salsa. I washed off the tomatillos, and I used green tomatillos for this because that's what I had. But like Will said, if you wanted maybe a slightly sweeter, less acidic kind of flavor, you could do mix of the both. But the roasting is helping to caramelize some of the sugars in the tomatillos and giving a smokier, a depth of flavor that isn't present in the raw. And so a roasted tomatillo salsa is going to be a little bit on the sweeter side than a fresh tomatillo salsa. I've made salsa verde without roasting it. I don't know if you do, I mean,
Absolutely.
time, right? Like it took me
Yeah.
about an hour to roast these down.
Mhm.
I don't always have time to do that. If you don't want to roast them, either from a time perspective or you're worried about the advanced glycolated end products and you just want to do the raw, you could totally do it raw.
I love the raw, and if you go down to Mexico, you're gonna see both. They're both really common, and they'll
Mhm.
commonly cut the raw tomatillo salsa, which is very tart. It's kind of bright and it's a lot. They'll
Mhm.
cut it with an avocado, so you can toss an
Yeah.
avocado in, and that smooths it out. And that's a really common salsa down there is with fresh tomatillos and avocados.
Yeah, that's a great tip. That's a great tip. And then bonus, you're getting some healthy fat and some fiber and magnesium from the avocado too, which fabulous. So roasted tomatillos, peeled a dozen of these guys, put them into a foil packet, kind of like this, stuck them onto a cookie sheet in the oven at 400 degrees for about 50 minutes. And then I kind of poked at them halfway through. I was just looking for them to get soft and kind of brown and caramelized. And then on that same little foil packet, we have a whole jalapeno pepper. Now, this is a whole jalapeno pepper, seeds included, and we're going to use the seeds in the salsa. The seeds are going to make it a little spicy. So if you're someone who does not like spice, what you could do is slice the green bits of the jalapeno off, leaving the pith, that white part, and the seeds behind, and just roast the flesh, and that would make it a little less spicy for you.
What I like to do is I'll cut the top off, cut it in half, and then use a spoon to scrape out that white part. The seeds have spice, but it's actually what we call the mantle, and that's the white part. So you want to get that out of there. A spoon's really good for that. And an alternative would be something a little more mild, like a serrano, which would give you some of those chili flavors without a lot of the jalapeno spice.
Yeah, great tips. Love it. That's why you're here.
Hey, I noticed that you left the skin on the garlic.
Oh, yeah. I did. So we roasted some garlic here with the skin on, and we roasted, so we got 3 cloves of garlic that we also roasted in that foil packet with a small yellow onion quartered. Okay, and again, we're roasting all of these things just to develop a more robust and rich flavor. I left the skin on the garlic because I think that helps in the roasting process, and then it doesn't mush all over and become a little puddle into the tin foil here. So we're peeling it off of here now.
And it definitely makes peeling a lot more fun than raw garlic.
It makes it so much easier to peel. So much easier to peel. So we're peeling off the skin here because, again, just like the tomatillos, we don't want that in our dish.
If you ever want to make roasted garlic, but you don't want to get the oven going just for garlic, you can actually leave the skin on and put them in a dry pan, and just toast them in the pan for about 8 to 10 minutes. Then get that black on the paper, and you'll open it up, and you'll have that caramelized roasted garlic. It's awesome.
Why haven't we had Will here earlier?
Let's do it again.
You need to come. You need to come to every class.
We need a whole Mexican food night.
Yes, I know. Good, the tips. Okay, so as you can see, we have a food processor here, and we put the 1 yellow onion that's been quartered and roasted, 3 cloves of garlic. I've got my dozen tomatillos. You can see they're kind of juicy, which is good. Excited for that. And we have got about 2 tablespoons of lime juice. Okay, this is fresh lime juice, so it's about 2 limes juiced, maybe 3 if your limes aren't super juicy or they're on the older side. And then we've got a 1/2 cup of cilantro that's also going in here. Yes, nice and fresh. And I don't. Oh, and then we've got 1 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and like Will just did, he cut off the stem. We don't want that bit in the salsa. This won't blend up, and you don't really want to eat the stemmy bit.
I imagine it has lots of fiber though.
Yeah, might be a little hard to digest, a lot of that insoluble fiber. All right, so we're just gonna give this a stir. And this is one of those things that like you can make it as chunky or as smooth as you want it to be. It's, you know, your. Okay, let's look at that.
Beautiful.
Right, I'm gonna show you all. Think that looks
I
good?
think that looks
All right, so hopefully you all can see that. It's still a little chunky. It's nice and watery. It's great on a whole grain tortilla chip too, just as is. And you can also taste it at this point. And if you feel like it needs a little bit more brightness, add a little bit more lime juice. Needs a little bit more salt, add a little bit more salt. You could throw some cumin in here too if you wanted a little bit more smokiness. Any other things that you typically add, or just
I think that's great. I've
Just like-
sometimes used, you could use powdered chilies. I've used
Oh, yeah.
soaked guajillos in here. So in Mexico, they have a lot of fun with this and they do all kinds of things. There's really no one recipe. This is kind of the base and you would build from here as to what you like.
cool? So go have an adventure, make your own salsa verde, and then tell us about it.
Mm.
Let us know what fun things you decide to add. Now, all right. So our very last recipe of the night is.
I've never cooked so fast in my life. So
I know,
Wow.
I know. It's magic. It's really, this is like that TV movie magic. Can I have the recipe and that sheet pan, please? Just right there would be fine. Yeah. All right. So we have got some zucchini fritters. That's our final recipe. This is zucchini season,
Oh my
right?
gosh,
You
it's
have it
coming
coming out.
everywhere.
Yeah,
everywhere.
coming out of the ears.
And you probably have a neighbor that has too much zucchini as well. So it's
Mhm.
everywhere.
It's being left on your doorstep. People are shoving it into your arms everywhere you look. So this is one recipe that you could use to use up some of that zucchini you're likely swimming in. We used about 1.5, it ended up being, right? Medium zucchinis. This is just a normal green zucchini. You could do this with yellow squash, summer squash too, if you wanted to. But we just used this because that's what we had. And you use the coarse side of the box grater, right?
Yep, that's right. Coarse side again. But what we found with the zucchini is that when you grate it, it tends to start juicing. And so what we did is we used we put the
We use
shredded zucchini into a cloth and then we kind of give it a squeeze and got some of that excess moisture out of there.
Yep.
Otherwise, it's just gonna be sloppy when you go to cook it. So
Yeah, exactly. And that's what the recipe instructions will tell you to do as well. You could use cheesecloth, clean kitchen towel, whatever you have. I sometimes will also salt it and put it in a wire mesh strainer and let it sit for a couple of minutes and then just use my hands to squeeze out excess liquid that way. Whatever works for you. You just want to remove some of the excess water so that these patties end up sticking together. All right. So, the first ingredient in this recipe is quinoa. So we've got 2 cups of cooked quinoa. Quinoa really high in fiber and protein. You're getting 8 grams of protein per cup. For quinoa, this is in the amaranth family. So fun, cool, great whole grain. And this is really going to be the base for this dish. So this recipe is also really great if, say, you made a batch of quinoa for a side dish for something else and you've got some extra left over. You can use up 2 cups right here in this recipe. So we're going to put 2 cups in our bowl here.
I love quinoa too because it cooks so quickly.
Oh, so fast.
And I don't feel like I have to baby it like something like rice.
No.
Yeah,
no,
it's
no,
really
no.
straightforward.
Yes, I love it for that reason too. And to cook it, it's just 1 cup of the grain, 2 cups of liquid. You could throw a little bit of salt in there too if you wanted to, in like 15 to 20 minutes.
Yeah.
You're good. And what you're looking for, I don't know if you can see on the screen there, if I can get close enough. Probably not.
We'll make a stuffed animal for next.
Yeah, perfect. That's good. Get Sarah on that one.
Mhm.
you're looking for a kind of a little white curly cue on the outside of the grain, and there to not be any more white in the center of the grain, and that'll show you that your quinoa is done cooking. But again, it's about 15 to 20 minutes is what you're going for. Okay, so we've got some quinoa. We're going to heat up our skillet. Let me get our space a little bit more organized here. We've got a skillet. You all can see that. Perfect. We're going to turn that on. We're going to saute up some veggies here. So we got our 2 cups of zucchini. We have got 4 cloves of garlic that have been finely minced. We've got 1 small onion, about half a cup, that's been diced. Okay, so again, we're getting kind of dicing uniform, kind of square, small pieces. And then we've got a few tablespoons of olive oil that we're going to use for our sauteing. If you are avoiding oil for health reasons, you could do a water saute here, using a few tablespoons or 1/4 cup of water once your pan gets warm, and soften your onions and your garlic with the water. So let me see here. Skillet is up. All right, we're getting warm here. So normally I would heat this pan up, or well, we'll let it go. All right, you heat it for about a minute or 2, and then you add in your oil. So this is, 2 to 3 tablespoons of oil. We're going to add in our onions. Good, so onions have some good organic sulfur compounds that are really good anti-cancer, anti-inflammatory, really.
And it's onion season, so you're gonna start seeing a
Yeah.
lot of fresh onions right now at the farmer's market, storage onions, they're getting harvested. So
Yeah, do y'all grow a lot of onions at the?
tons of
Okay.
onions because they're the most consumed vegetable by weight in the world because almost every culture uses onions. Really versatile.
That's very true. If you remember back to our flavors class when we talked about aromatic vegetables, onions are an aromatic vegetable, right? So they really form the foundation of many recipes, many dishes. Garlic alike, which we're going to use here momentarily. And what we're doing for this recipe is exactly that. We're cooking these onions until they are soft and translucent, and that is helping to kind of develop the flavor base of this dish. We're going to add in our garlic in a minute and in our zucchini. Do y'all grow like other types of allium family? Onions are in the allium family. Do you guys grow other types of allium
Absolutely,
family?
yeah. The other things that are in that family are garlic. We love lots of garlic. And that one we harvest in June. Scallions or /green onions are something that we do quite a bit of. Shallots are in that family as well,
Yeah.
of course. So, and again, those are all just really versatile things that most of your local farms in Michigan can grow nearly year round.
Yeah.
So
What other kinds of things are in season right now? So we know, the eggplant and the zucchini and the beets, like all the things that we're using are in season right now in Michigan. What other types of things might we see at the farmer's market or at your farm stand tomorrow?
That's right.
Right.
Come visit us 11 to 1. We're in the north lobby of the hospital, and
Mhm.
we have things available for sale. And it's really peak season for everything. You're starting to see things like melons. Certainly tomatoes have been flying off the vine. So August is a great time. You might not see a lot of your spring greens as much. So we're not really doing things like lettuce and spinach, but things like sweet peppers and hot peppers and tomatillos, lots and lots of those. So it's an exciting time and a busy time for a farmer for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I'm glad that you could share some of your busy time with us.
Nice and
tonight.
air conditioned in here. Yeah, this is lovely.
That's true. And you get some food afterwards. So, yeah. Okay, cool. I'm putting in my garlic. So I've got 4 cloves of minced garlic. I'm putting that in here because the onions have started to soften a little bit. And if you can tell, you can start to see some color change with the onions. So some of these are starting to turn a little bit more yellow instead of just plain white.
I find that if you're cooking and you get to this stage, people are usually pretty impressed with you at this point. You walk into the I'm like, wow, it smells fantastic in here. They're already excited about the meal.
Yes, onions and garlic make everything better. And if you just incorporate them into your dish, it will make almost pretty much anything taste pretty darn good. All right, so we're gonna let this go just for about a minute or two, just to really until that garlic is really fragrant. I don't know, is it fragrant?
It's fragrant.
Yeah.
What do you think, Lisa? Can you smell
Can
that
you
there?
smell it? Yeah, perfect. Okay. So now we're gonna add our 2 cups. This is a hefty 2 cups. It's about maybe closer to 3 cups. That's okay. We're gonna add that in here to our pan and just cook it for a minute or 2, just to take some of the rawness off of it. You also totally don't have to cook it.
Nice.
This is helping to also remove a little bit more of the moisture. But if you did a good job squeezing it,
Yeah.
you don't have to do this. I usually, whenever I've made fritters, I usually don't. But this particular recipe was suggesting that you did and tried it, and it also works really well.
I do find that if you don't pre-cook them like this, you tend to have to use more oil when you're cooking the fritter, and it turns almost into a deep frying situation, which I know we want to avoid. So I think this is smart to make sure that we're cooked pretty much all the way through.
Yeah. And then on your typical fritter, we're actually going to bake these instead of frying them. So that also, cooking these also helps them stick together a little bit better in that baking process. Okay, that is looking pretty good.
And fritters are awesome because I know when I've had this many zucchini, I'll just pop them when I make them, put them in the freezer, and they're ready to go. And you've got lunches right there.
Yeah.
Freeze super well.
They freeze really, really well. Just very similar to those veggie burgers we made in our meal prep class. You can take some parchment paper, just layer a piece of parchment paper in between when you put them in the freezer, whatever container you're doing them, and then you can pop them out really easily. These you can preheat in a oven at 350 for 10 to 15 minutes. You could microwave them to get them back from frozen to lots of different options. Okay, so now we're going to also add, we've got 2 cups of chopped spinach. So not really in season right now. This is from the grocery store, not from the farm. Sorry.
But you could be using your beet greens. That's a great
totally
opportunity.
use your beet greens. Yep, or you could use some Swiss chard in here if you wanted to. Really any sort of dark leafy green, and you want 2 cups. Our spinach is adding some iron and it's adding in some folate, which helps with DNA synthesis and repair, which is super important for longevity, super important for any people of childbearing age as well. All right, so we just want to cook this until it's wilted, and that looks pretty wilted to me. So we're going to turn that off, and then we're going to move on to some of our other ingredients. How about this? Okay, so this, and I want to show you. Last month we made soka. We
Okay.
had soka
Yeah.
before. So we use this chickpea flour to make kind of like a flatbread, which that's what soka is. So this month, since we had the chickpea flour from last month's recipe, we are using it in our fritter as an egg alternative. So if you eat eggs, this would be an opportunity to use those. But this is a great opportunity to add in some more plant-based nutrients. Chickpeas are a superfood, a lot of really, really powerful nutrition baked into these tiny little beans. So by using the chickpea flour to as an egg substitute, you're beefing up the nutrition of this dish. We've got a 1/3 cup of chickpea flour and about a 1/3 cup of water. And we want it to be kind of like a runny paste, if you see that. And this is just going to help kind of bind everything together. I did do an experiment and I was like, oh, other egg substitutes. You can use flaxseed, right? Ground flaxseed. I did a batch with the ground flaxseed. Don't do it.
This is the one.
This is the one you definitely want to try the chickpea flour if you're gonna follow this particular recipe. The flaxseed just didn't hold everything together quite as well. And I think because this is a flour, it's still absorbing some of the moisture and sticking things together. The flax just didn't quite do that same thing. And then we've got a 1/2 cup of flour. This is just a gluten-free flour blend. I think we're using the King Arthur blend. You don't have to do a gluten-free. I just am gluten-free, and so I'm making it this way. You could use, a 1/2 cup of a whole wheat flour or whatever flour you typically utilize. Whole wheat, again, that's a whole grain, so you're getting a little bit more fiber in the dish. So another way to beef up the nutrition. We are going to put all of these things together. So we've got our bowl with our 2 cups of quinoa. We are going to take our
Would you like me to scoop?
scrape. Yeah, that would be fabulous. We're gonna put all of our veggies into our bowl here. Beautiful.
Smelling even better now.
Yeah, so good. I always wish that you all could be here with us in person so that you could get these tantalizing smells. All right.
Was there a reason to soak the chickpea flour? Did it need to absorb a little bit?
No, it didn't. So sometimes you want to hydrate things for a while beforehand. You don't have to do that with the chickpea flour. It doesn't require that hydration time. I just did it to save us time right now. And again, part of that mise en place, having everything ready to go for us. So we're going to add that in there. Oh yeah, scrape away, please. Thank you.
It's the most, and then less dishes.
Yes, exactly. less mess later, which we like. All right, then we've got our 1/2 cup of flour that's going in here. I'm gonna add just a pinch of salt. Again, you could leave that out if you wanted to. I'm gonna do 2 pinches using coarse kosher salt. And then we've got some dill. This is about a 1/4 cup of fresh dill that's been chopped. This is in season right now too. Got this from the farmer's market. Throw that in here. The dill adds a really nice fresh flavor, and we're just gonna mix this around.
I could see other herbs in there too, though.
Yeah,
I could see like maybe some basil. I would
yeah.
be a big fan of some parsley. I love some fresh.
I
parsley.
do love fresh parsley as well. I'm a huge fan of that. And the parsley and the dill have some powerful compounds that actually help turn on our body's antioxidant producing genes and turn off our body's inflammatory pathways. So, double whammy of benefit here, because I think we've talked about before in this class, like inflammation is the root of a lot of disease and illness. And if we can eat these plant foods like dill and parsley and ginger that was in some of our other dishes that are potent anti-inflammatories, we can help mitigate and prevent that disease risk. Okay.
That's good.
We're just mixing it all together until all of our flour is absorbed, everything's evenly incorporated. And then what we are going to do is, you can help me too if you want to get your hands dirty.
Thank you.
Is form this into patties. So it's a little sticky, and I'm wondering, what do you think? Think it needs a little bit more flour?
Maybe
think
it is
it's good?
folding in my hand nicely.
Yeah.
I can kind
Yeah.
of flip it. I think we're
Perfect.
good.
I think we're good. All right. So we're just forming about a 1/4 inch thick patty, about the size of the palm of your hand. And then we've got this sheet tray here, you can see, and it's lined with parchment paper, and that's going to help these from sticking to this pan, and it's going to make cleanup a lot easier for us. So we're going to stick these on this sheet here. We'll just do a couple of them so you can get the general.
And how thick? We're going maybe 1/2 inch of the thickest. portion?
Yeah, like a quarter inch to 1/2 inch
Sure.
thick. Okay, because any thicker and they'll just take a really long time to bake, and then the centers will still be a little mushy And that's a little less enjoyable experience. All right, so we've got those on there.
Oh, yeah, this
Oh,
is-
almost. Perfect. That looks beautiful. Okay. We're gonna stick these in our oven. And that is going to be a 400-degree oven. And we're gonna cook those for about 8 to 10 minutes per side. So 8 to 10 minutes, then you wanna pull those out, flip them so that the other side browns and has contact with your pan. Another 8 to 10 minutes, and then they should be good to go from there. And then when you pull them out of the oven, so pretend we're doing some TV movie magic right here.
Ta-da!
Ta-da! You've got some beautiful quinoa and zucchini fritters. We put a little bit of the extra dill on top of here. I was also thinking, in our flavors class, we made a tahini and lemon
Nice.
dressing. That would be really nice on top of here as well, pair really well with the flavors. So you can go back to that recipe and incorporate that as well. Any other ideas for things that you would add?
Slather with some hummus,
Oh,
double
yeah.
on the chickpea,
Mhm.
anything kind of thick that you could get on there
Yep.
to hold in place.
Yep.
Yeah, that's really good.
That would be really, really tasty. And yeah, if you, this is a great side dish because you're getting some veggies, you're getting some whole grains. If you wanted to make this a meal, again, you could have some chickpeas on the side with this. You could do one of our tofu or tempeh recipes and have that on the side with this. And like Will said, they freeze really well. So this is a great, it's a little bit more involved, but it's a really great make ahead. And these will also keep in the fridge for 5 days or so. So you could have them for throughout the whole week.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, those are all of our recipes. And before we go though, Will, I just wanted you to share with everybody else so people can come to the farm stand tomorrow.
Right.
What other ways can they get beautiful produce like what we had in class tonight?
Sure. Yeah. So we support other local farms through our CSA, which is our farm share. So you can sign up for our farm share, become a member, get produce weekly or every other week, and just get a bounty of awesome, fresh local food that's in season from other local, mostly organic farms. So that's a really good option. The farm also does lots of things. We do cooking classes, we'll do demonstrations, we have camps. In fact, one coming up pretty soon here that Kelly's working with us on, and all kinds of good educational opportunities. So definitely check out the website, search the farm at Trinity Health Ann Arbor. We also have a farm up in Pontiac if you're more in that neck of the woods. So always something exciting going on at the farm.
Yeah, awesome. The farm is wonderful. The CSA is wonderful, their farm subscription box. So if you're in the market for fresh veggies, check out the farm stand tomorrow. We'll both be there actually, or join the CSA. Then you get fresh veggies all season long. One other quick announcement before we go. Lisa, could you pull up those slides real quick? You should momentarily see a couple slides on your screen. Here we go. So just wanted to remind everyone that our Foundations of Lifestyle Medicine class is coming up starting September 11th. So this is a 7-week class where we go through all of the pillars of lifestyle medicine, not just nutrition. And we really dive into the science behind the recommendations in each of the 6 pillars, and then provide you opportunities to build skills in each of these 6 pillar areas. We've got weekly emails for check-ins. We're doing some group learning and connection. And then we'll have our first and last class in person. And then also wanted to let folks know that this class can be covered by some insurances. We've got the insurance codes right there. So take a picture and reach out to your insurance if you're interested in joining. And then reach out to Lifestyle Medicine at Trinity-Health.org if you want more information. And then as always, these QR codes will take you to our class resource page. That's the QR code on the right, where all of our recipes and all of the slides and recordings from previous classes live. And that's where all of the recipes and the recording for tonight's class will be as well. And then the QR code on the right, if you would do me the huge favor of taking our class survey. I know I ask you to do this every month, but it really does make a difference. Your feedback is really valuable to me and helps me make sure that these classes are meeting your needs and are, evolving to be even better. So please take a few minutes, scan that QR code. There will also be a link in our class follow-up email, which look for that in about a week or so, and you can follow that link to take the survey there. With that, we just want to thank you so much for spending your Tuesday evening with us. I had fun.
Yeah.
Did you have fun?
It was awesome.
Okay,
It's great.
great. And we're gonna go clean up and eat some tasty food, and I hope you're about to do the same. Look forward to seeing you all next month. Take good care. Good night.